Okay, so topic at hand. The first thing, ascendant, the lagna. Out of who's here, lagna. Somebody want to define, what does the word lagna itself mean?
I think it means pillar.
Pillar.
Like the sort of post that sets the whole horoscope up.
Tie down.
What?
Yeah, tie. It has something
Tie.
to do with like being tied down. And so the whole concept of it tying down, it's that the ascendant point that you get tied down to when you're born. And by tying it down, it ties down the whole arrangement of the chart, how everything else is read. Almost all the Aruda lagnas are calculated from what the ascendant is based on. All the special lagnas, Hora lagna, Gatika lagna, all that's based on the ascendant. So where the planets are falling houses, everything is based on the ascendant. So the ascendant's our main tie-down point. And the ascendant represents the body. And so when we are born, the main thing that ties us to this plane is our body. If we didn't have a body, we could be jumping to different planets whenever we wanted to, just like you do in your dreams when you're not in your body. So the ascendant, it ties us down and it sets the stage for everything. So we're going to start really general with this, but this is giving you an idea of how I want the information explained. And I don't expect you to come up with all this information on your own, but the homework will work with sources and we'll talk about it in class. But that way you're coming with something and we have something to work with. One thing that with Guruji is that I'd watch people, we'd be in Delhi and someone, they might come from South India, but they'd come to him and they'd expect him to answer some questions. And sometimes he might answer the question indirectly. He might even chase them, send them to some books that don't even have the information, but just seem like they have the information. Just if the person just comes expecting. Then I'd see guys come with huge amounts, piles of research, and he'd sit down for hours with them, going over the research, working with the information, clarifying their points. So just coming with information that's going to allow us to go a lot deeper, because it's showing that you're coming with energy, and then we're going to work with that energy that you've brought. Otherwise, it's almost more of a, you'll be taking. So it's a give and a take. We're bringing energy here, and we're having it refined and worked with and learned. Okay, so there's 3 types of charts. There's actually a few hundred, but there's 3 main charts that are used. And those charts are called kundalis or chakras. They're chakras. And chakras aren't just the things inside of you. Any yantra diagram can also be called a chakra. And so the first one we're going to look at is the North Indian. And the North Indian is called the Bhrigu chakra. And Bhrigu, does anybody who here knows a little bit about Bhrigu?
I don't remember, but he was Rishi, another Rishi, right?
He was Rishi.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Bhrigu? Okay, he was one of the primary rishis. He just wasn't, because there's 1,000 rishis, each one sitting in the petal of the crown chakra. And Bhrigu's he's one of the Vedic rishis. He's one of the primary rishis that we use. Now, the primary rishis are each connected, there's 7. So they're each connected to the physical planets. Okay? And Bhrigu, generally most of the planets were born from the rishis. Venus was born of Bhrigu, through the Bhargava lineage of Bhrigu. And so Bhrigu we connect to Venus energy. And so we call it Bhrigu chakra, because whenever we talk about rishis, the highest form of Venus to meditate upon is the Rishi Bhrigu. To worship Venus, the highest we can worship Venus as a graha is as Bhrigu. So the Bhrigu chakra, it's diamonds. Venus. And who you use South Indian probably, right? Who here uses North Indian chart? The Bhrigu chakra. And who uses the South Indian chart? Okay. So here, eventually maybe we'll have a board or something that we can write on, and eventually will be a projector to cast some charts up. Everything will come in time. We're going to use all three charts. To get us all using all three charts, we'll probably go a month with the North Indian, a month with the South Indian, and a month with the East Indian, and we'll keep cycling back and forth. Because each chakra is focused on a certain area. It draws out a certain type of information. And it's set up in a different way. The energy, the prana is flowing through it differently. And in the the Bhrigu chakra, the energy is moving counterclockwise. So the ascendant's the first house, and the next house is counterclockwise to it. The next house is, again, counterclockwise. So we're moving counterclockwise through the Bhrigu chakra. Okay? So, right here, this is really, really general because this is for very, very beginners. And it's just showing how to put the, how the signs are put in the house, and the signs are moving through the houses. The houses remain the same. And the real important thing and the real strength of this is the fact, and I'm going to skip a little, actually I'll stay along with the paper. What is drawn out with this chakra is the kendras and the trines. And we see that the kendras are full diamonds. They're the pillars. This is where the real pillar of life comes in. Our kendras are the pillars of life. They're what we stand on. The dharma, moksha, kama, artha. And in life, a person needs all four of these ayanas to be fulfilled. Dharma is what you're meant to do in life. It's what your purpose in life is. It's why you're here. If you're not fulfilling your dharma, you're not going to be having an inner fulfillment. Then we have artha. Artha is your sustenance. It's considered wealth, but just the fact of having a roof over your head and eating, that's sustenance. And your money coming in is just to provide you with sustenance. So artha is your sustenance, and everybody needs sustenance. And then we have the kama. Kama is your desires. It's your family, it's love life, and things of this nature. And everybody needs to have things in life that make them happy. No one can be serious all the time. And so kama needs to be there. And moksha is spirituality. And some people say just liberation, but all aspects of spirituality, because depending on what school of thought you believe in spiritually, there is no end. What is the final? It's a constant path. Spirituality, we're always, if we're moving towards the infinite, we've never achieved the infinite. We're infinitely, eternally moving towards the infinite. So moksha is just the path of spirituality as well as the final goal itself. And all four of these things need to be in life to have happiness. Now, from those, we can see that the trines, from each of these kendra houses, it's very easy to see the trines from each of them. The trines stand out. And so the Bhrigu chakra is all about making sure that the four aspects of life are taken care of and looking at the trines. What is supporting those four aspects of life? And what supports those four aspects of life are Lakshmi. The trines are ruled by Lakshmi. The kendras are ruled by Vishnu. So those trines supporting those kendras are ruled by Lakshmi. And the planet associated with Lakshmi is Venus. So this is Venus's chakra. This is the Bhrigu chakra. And generally people with a strong Venus get much more attracted to the North Indian chart. So the houses are fixed and the signs are moving through them. And as you see as we're going through this, I'm just going over the general what I've written, but there's questions on everything. And so in your homework, once we start doing it, not only are you going to do the information, but you're going to write questions about the information. What is it? And by writing the question, we'll be able to look at what's the important point. What's the point that somebody really needs to know here? What's the heart essence of this? And so in our questions, we're going to try and get towards the heart essence so a person understands the intention of the information as well as the information itself. Okay, the Bhrigu chakra. The thing about fixed houses that's really nice is if we go to the page where the charts turn sideways, we see the Earth's horizon, and wow, time. And so with this, when we look at the 10th house, the sun is high noon. When we look at the 4th house, it's midnight. When the sun is in the 1st house, it's sunrise. When it's in the 7th house, it's sunset. And looking at the chart, we can see what is in the sky where. If you have Mercury in the 11th house, we know that where Mercury was in the sky when you were born. We have a mental relationship of where the planets are existing in space. And a lot of times with the chakras, people get very attached to the fact that they're lines and numbers on paper. And one important thing to really remember is that these lines and numbers on paper are only representing huge bodies and planets moving through space and time. So this is a map of space and time, and we have to be aware of space and time at the same time. So if we see the sun in the 10th house, we should be aware that the person was born high noon. It should automatically be brought to consciousness, because what the planets are doing at high noon is going to be different than what the planets are doing at midnight. What planets are strong at midnight, what planets are strong at high noon are going to change. And so what's happening in the sky, this shouldn't just be a piece of paper. We should be aware of the universe when we look at these charts. And the Bhrigu chakra makes that very easy because of the fixed houses.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If you see that some planets are for a person, most of the planets are in the high noon, does that signify already that these planets are good for him? Or do you go for the house lordship? Or
how into that will we go? There's many rules. Certain planets are day-strong planets. Certain planets are night-strong planets. So night-strong planets are going to be stronger if the sun is in its appropriately. Then we have planets are happier in certain houses. Venus and Moon have Digbala in the 4th house at midnight. And when do you worship the Divine Mother at? What's the time most Devi sadhanas are done?
Late in the night.
Late in the night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's and for this purpose, everything is lining up. If we understand the time of day, we understand the Digbala. If we understand the deities and what the planets represent and all these significations, it will. So there's multiple rules. Okay. For different elements, and for whether it's strong or not, whether it's evil or somya. So what results it's going to give are going to change. Okay. Right now, let's focus on the chakra. Phalita we'll talk about soon enough.
Wait, what's Phalita?
The results. Giving results. Phala means fruit. So picking the fruit from the tree. But before we pick the fruit from the tree, we need to know how to plant the tree and how to water the tree and when to plant the tree and all this other stuff. And then we'll start talking about like how to pick the fruit. So on the next few pages, I give some exercises on being able to just working with the Bhrigu chakra a little bit to get beginners used to it. If the person was born at sunrise and the sun was in Sagittarius, what would be their lagna?
Sagittarius.
Okay. If the person is born at high noon with the sun and their sun is in Sagittarius, what's their lagna?
Pisces.
Okay. So these next few rules are just really breaking down a general concept so a person can start to get space and time really in their mind, so that they're looking at the chart as a map of space and time and not just a physical piece, lines and numbers on paper, which is very important. But I'm not going to go over that right now with you guys. If you want to go over it, you're welcome to go over it on your own, especially those who are beginners.